Now on to the point. Mansion controversy.
People have been drinking. There's cars in our driveway.
An ABC 10 investigation looks into complaints of noise, traffic, and safety concerns linked to a $10 million property. Shut down stalemate. How local Congress members are spending their time during the government shutdown, now in its 16th day. In the battle to lower healthcare costs,
$11 per pen, $55 for a month's supply.
Affordable insulin is coming to California. In our Champions of Hope, turning tragedy into triumph after a life-changing crash, how one man fought his way back to the starting line. Good evening. Thank you for joining us on To The Point. I'm Becca Habiger. Thousands of dollars in damage and concerns about neighbors' safety. Complaints surrounding a 9-bedroom, 14-bathroom, 15,000 square foot mansion in Placer County have circulated for the past several years. We're talking about White Swan Castle, an opulent mansion in Granite Bay, now at the center of controversy. The current owners bought the property just off Auburn Folsom Road in September of 2021. According to the Placer County officials, the property is zoned residential agricultural, but neighbors claim it's being improperly used for commercial purposes. Digital content producer Kaylee Bryant and I looked into it. At 8300 Moss Court in Granite Bay, on 4.7 acres, sits a luxurious mansion surrounded by gardens and fountains. Up until recently, the website 8300mosscourt.com, now offline, said the property was for sale for nearly $10 million, with photos showcasing the inside and outside and a description in part of its expansive outdoor entertainment spaces designed for large gatherings, celebrations, and overnight guest stays, ideal for events, private getaways, or as a show-stopping primary residence.
So I just want them to follow the rules.
Neighbor Dana Talia says for several years now she has reported to Placer County Code Enforcement what she claims are unpermitted events.
It passed the point of a neighbor having a party that's difficult or annoying or loud to now we live next to a concert venue.
Talia has been going back and forth with the county for years, documenting alleged noise, traffic, and safety concerns linked to what she estimates have been more than 40 events held at White Swan Castle over the past 4 years.
And now it's at the point where you've turned to the media.
It just feels very much like it's a problem about to happen, and we're warning, and no one is listening.
Talia and other neighbors allege the castle has hosted weddings and large parties with loud music. They have seen hundreds of cars parked along not only Auburn Folsom Road, where parking is not allowed, but also the neighborhood's narrow, dead-end street.
My senior citizen neighbors shouldn't have to be afraid that if a police comes or a fire truck, it's blocking their entire road. They shouldn't be scared and everyone has to shut their gates.
As someone who works in the medical field, Talia says her main concern is safety, but she also claims party guests have mistaken her family's front lawn for overflow parking.
People have been drinking. There's cars in our driveway. There's cars breaking our sprinklers. They use it as a turnaround.
Talia claims guests have caused thousands of dollars in damage. She and her husband have since added a gate with warnings.
I'd say it's easily $5,000, maybe more, just to fix the landscaping, the gate, paying the landscapers over and over to fix all the pipes that were broken from people driving on it, broken trees.
ABC 10 reached out to the property owners about all this. They declined to provide ABC 10 with an interview or formal statement. They claim they, quote, occasionally host gatherings at their private estate and remain in full compliance with Placer County codes and regulations, calling the neighbors' claims false. Talia claims she and her husband tried talking with one of the owners early on and were met with hostility. They've since let code enforcement be the liaison. Plus, Talia and other neighbors claim the property owners don't even live here. Court documents show Maria Mosinzadeh and Hossein Razavi purchased the property at 8300 Moss Court in September of 2021. The California Secretary of State's website lists an active LLC for a company called White Swan Castle, and Mosinzadeh is listed as the manager and CEO in its most recent filing, June 25th of this year. The address attached to the company's filing is a home in Napa. A website called whiteswancastle.com shows the property's iconic gazebo in the background and currently says coming soon. Archived versions of White Swan Castle's website appear to show the property advertised for events, saying the property is ideal for weddings, film production, and/or similar occasions, and that White Swan Castle is currently renting out the space. ABC 10 cannot confirm if these events occurred. A TikTok account called White Swan Castle showcases videos of the property posted in 2024 and describes itself as a private event venue. But Placer County's unincorporated zoning map shows 8300 Moss Court is zoned residential agricultural, and that to hold temporary events requires a permit.
If an event is occurring where there are more than 20 people present, they're non-family members, then it rises to the level of being classified as an event in Placer County Code, and would be subject to that event either being held at an events venue or subject to what we call a temporary outdoor event permit, which even though the name implies that it's outdoors, it also is used for events that are held indoors as well.
Chris Pahuli is Placer County's planning director. He says a residential property can hold up to 6 such events per year, each one requiring a temporary outdoor event permit. Beyond that, a property has to be zoned commercial or operated as a community center. The county says 8300 Moss Court is neither, though the county says the property has obtained a temporary outdoor event permit in the past. The county also says there are parking requirements for events included in the Placer County Code. But Talia worries there are loopholes, claiming owners can get around the county's rules.
So as long as they say it's friends or family, you can't prove otherwise.
And when it comes to reporting events, the county says a code enforcement officer has to witness the violation with their own eyes, and they typically work weekdays. So in May, Placer County launched a pilot program with a weekend event hotline and on-call officers. It runs through October.
If there is a violation occurring, they would issue a notice of violation that puts the property owner on notice that they need to receive proper permits in order to hold events. If that property owner continues to violate the code, we have a progressive enforcement process where we would issue fines and citations.
The county says code enforcement issued White Swan Castle property owners a notice of violation for an event held the last weekend of May this year. The county tells ABC 10 no hearing or appeal has been scheduled because this was simply a notice, not a citation, and the owners have been in communication with the county about the violation. As for any potential buyer of the property, a word of caution from the county.
I would encourage potential buyers of property that are looking to hold public events or events where they're looking to lease out the property to really do your research before purchasing the property.
He says 8300 Moss Court is not permitted as a commercial events venue.
It's been really difficult. It's been really hard to not know where it's headed and if it's ever going to stop. And it's just a matter of time before someone gets hurt or there's a car accident or something bad happens. So it's just been unnerving.
That neighbor tells us the property has been quiet recently, and she hopes it stays that way. The county says complaints and concerns about unpermitted events aren't limited to White Swan Castle. As for Placer County Code Enforcement's pilot program with on-call weekend enforcement officers, the planning director says his office plans on taking the results of that program to the Board of Supervisors later this year as part of an ongoing discussion. Federal lawmakers weigh in on how they're spending their days as the government shutdown is now into a 3rd week. Plus, thousands of athletes are gearing up to take over the streets of Sacramento for Ironman California. We'll show you what to expect and which roads to avoid.
And we're looking at another cold morning tomorrow. We're going to be in those 40s with more patchy fog. Tomorrow afternoon, though, the warmest day of the work week. We're going back into those mid-70s. I've got a detailed look at the weekend forecast after the break.
Thousands of athletes will take over the streets of Sacramento for the 2025 Ironman California race on Sunday. Preparations are underway. This is the 5th time Sacramento is hosting the event and the largest Ironman race in North America, with 47 U.S. states and 53 different countries represented this year.
Sacramento's just opened their arms and fully embraced this. The athletes see that, and it's just a wonderful place to be able to race.
The swim, bike, and run competition will bring several road closures to Sacramento, West Sacramento, and Yolo County. We have a complete list of the streets that will be impacted on our website, abc10.com. Well, ABC 10 meteorologist Brendan Minchef joins us now. And Brendan, there's going to be some great weather for the Ironman competitors.
Yeah, very seasonal and better than what we've had in years past. I remember not too long ago, we had a pretty soggy Ironman with some rain that had happened in the morning, but that's just not going to be the case this year. Very seasonal, both in the morning and in the afternoon. But that doesn't mean it's not going to be chilly. We're going to be in those low to mid 50s Sunday morning in Sacramento, so light jacket is recommended. More on the weekend in a second, but today 70 was our high temperature. Sacramento 70 in Stockton, 68 in Modesto, 63 Jackson, 54 in Truckee, and 52 in South Lake Tahoe. So 70 degrees today, the warmest day of the work week so far, but tomorrow I've got us moving back into those mid 70s in the valley. Right now though, 68 in Sacramento, 67 down in Stockton, 66 in Modesto, 55 Nevada City, 49 South Lake Tahoe, and 43 in Truckee. As we look towards downtown, 68 degrees. That is 6 degrees warmer than this time yesterday. However, it is still going to be a chilly evening because we're going to be dropping into those 50s between about 9 and 10 o'clock. And then we're going to, through the overnight hours, be in those low 50s and starting off early Friday morning in those upper 40s with some patchy fog once again. So bring the jacket with you tomorrow morning. Mid to upper 40s expected across the valley and foothills, mid 20s up in the Sierra. As we look at future visibility by 4 o'clock in the morning, we have some patchy fog starting to develop roughly along and just to the west of I-5 through the causeway, and then some more fog by the time we get towards 7. This will start to lift as we head through the mid-morning hours, but much like today, expect some patchy fog for the Friday morning commute. Sunny and mild tomorrow afternoon, 74 Sacramento, 76 in Stockton and Modesto, 77 up in Calusa, 77 in Fairfield as well, 60s and 70s in the foothills and 60s in the high country. We're going to be very seasonal through the weekend, right where we'd expect to be for this time of the year because we don't have a low pressure and we don't have a high pressure sitting overhead. So we're just going to have fairly zonal flow, and that means fairly seasonal temperatures over the next not just 3 days or 7 days, but much of the next 10. However, I am tracking the possibility for another chance for rain at the end of the extended part of the forecast here. But you know, that's still 8, 9, 10 days away, Becca.
Yeah, many days of beautiful weather. Thank you, Brendan. Well, the federal government shutdown hits day 16 and the pressure is mounting. Coming up, what California representatives say need to happen to get Washington back on track. And California is lowering the cost of essential diabetes medication. The new state-branded insulin pen set to hit the market at a fraction of the current cost. The federal government shutdown enters its 16th day. This comes after the Senate failed once again to pass a bill to keep the government funded. Now, California lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are feeling the pressure to work together. ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen asked them about their plans if this shutdown continues long term.
Becca, I spoke with Congressman Ami Bera and Kevin Kiley. While both of them usually do not agree on the same issues politically, they both tell me they are working hard to do what they can to ensure this shutdown ends sooner than later. For the 10th time, the Senate failed to pass a funding plan to keep the government open.
Another failed vote to end the shutdown.
It's very frustrating that the government remains closed.
Democrats are demanding a deal on the Affordable Care Act subsidies before they agree to pass a GOP-led continuing resolution to keep the government open. As both parties continue to blame one another, 2 California members of Congress tell ABC 10 they're working to find a compromise. Republican Congressman Kevin Kiley says he is still working in D.C. regardless of a shutdown.
I've been having a number of conversations with folks on both sides of the aisle. I am very disappointed that the House of Representatives as a whole is not in session. This has been 3 consecutive weeks when session has been canceled, and I completely disagree with that decision.
Democrat Congressman Ami Bera says he will return to D.C. on Monday and continue his efforts to find a middle ground with his colleagues on both sides of the aisle.
I think we will continue to talk to our leadership. We'll continue to talk to other stakeholders. I do feel like the Senate is getting closer to getting something passed.
As leaders of both parties continue to point the finger at one another, Kiley has been open in criticizing Republican Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, for canceling House sessions.
That to me is extremely frustrating, and it's why I decided to to come back, even though the House as a whole has not, hoping that maybe I can start a trend here and we can encourage our leadership to do the right thing.
And while Bera supports how minority leaders Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer have been handling the shutdown, he too says he's encouraging his leadership to find common ground with the other side.
I think we've got to get the government open, and I'll head back to Washington D.C., talk to my leadership, talk to my Republican colleagues if they're back there, and see if there's not a way we can get this going.
And the U.S. Senate will meet again on Monday. We did reach out to Representatives Doug LaMalfa and Tom McClintock to ask what they are doing during the shutdown and if they're working to find a compromise. We did not get a response from either of them. However, Congresswoman Doris Matsui tells ABC 10 Democrats have been ready and willing to reach a bipartisan agreement to reopen the government, adding she has been going back and forth from Sacramento to D.C. to meet with constituents and demand Republicans to negotiate in good faith. Becca.
Ginny, thank you. Well, today, Governor Gavin Newsom announced California will be the first to offer state-branded insulin in the name of affordability. Starting January 1st of next year, insulin pens will be available at pharmacies for $11 each, sold in 5 packs for $55. This is from CalRx, a state program making its own supply of prescription drugs for less. Governor Newsom noted current costs of insulin from name brands can range from as low as $89 to $411, and he blames Big Pharma for the high prices.
For them, insulin is a life-saving medicine, not a choice, not a luxury, and it's not something they can cut back on when finances are tight.
Today's announcement comes days after Newsom signed into law a bill that limits co-pays for a 30-day supply of insulin to just $35. And fertility treatments could soon cost less under a new federal initiative. Today, the White House announced 3 common in vitro fertilization drugs could be sold at discounts of more than 70% through a government-backed website launching next year. The plan also includes incentives for drug makers to expand production in the United States. During the announcement of the initiative, President Trump encouraged employers to offer more fertility benefits. The proposal stops short of Trump's campaign promise for universal free coverage. Well, next in our Champions of Hope, we meet a man who proves true endurance goes beyond the finish line. We know that in news, stories can be filled with challenges and hardships. I know folks who say they don't really tune into the news because it's so negative. But I think we have more things in common than we do dividing us. Incredible things are happening every day. We see it from neighbors helping neighbors to inspiring acts of kindness. All that said, each week here on To The Point, we are sharing stories about people making a difference. Tonight, in our Champions of Hope, we introduce you to Folsom native Bob Gitcham. He's a lifelong athlete, proving that endurance means more than just finishing a race. You see, in 2019, Bob was heading home from his daughter's volleyball tournament when he got into a devastating head-on crash. The accident left him with severe injuries, including a shattered pelvis, fractured spine, broken ribs, and a crushed heel. After multiple surgeries, he spent months relearning how to walk. His recovery was long and painful, involving multiple surgeries. But during his hospital stay, an Ironman triathlon flyer became a beacon of hope, inspiring him to return to competing. Since then, Bob has completed more than a dozen grueling Ironman triathlons, with every race a reminder that survival itself is a victory.
People ask me what the hardest part about doing Ironmans are on that whole thing, and honestly, it's getting to the start line. Nothing else. If you can get to the start line, you've made it. If you put your mind to it, you can do it. And people say that because it's true. Because if you do, you can. You will accomplish it. So regardless of what it is in life, whatever it is, if you show up, showing up's the hardest part.
Bob's story is a powerful reminder that endurance sports aren't just about athleticism. They can be a celebration of resilience, survival, and redefining limits. So thank you so much for watching us and inviting us into your home. If you have something we think we should be looking into, please email us at tothepoint@abc10.com. And To The Point doesn't end here. To watch stories featured on the show, you can download our free ABC 10 Plus streaming app to your TV. Have a great and safe night. We'll see you back here tomorrow.